Bitch. I'm your host, Rob. Joining me from the great Midwest is RDD, and tonight we are talking about the final episode of Rabbit Hole Season 1, Episode 8. This crazy nothing is as it seems TV show, the way it's presented to us, starring Keith Sutherland and Charles is it Vance, I guess, or Dance, whatever. That
Vance.
dude. Vance, give it to me,
Charles
Charles.
Dance, yeah. Vance is his friend in this.
Right, the Dance versus Vance. That I was like, wait a minute, those names are too similar. And we get to see who Crowley seems to be. So I don't know if this is a way to end an episode, wrap it up, or set things up for a potential season 2. Because I got to tell you, RDB, when I watched this episode, I kind of got a little bit of a semi-chub there towards the end, because when we see the person ends up being Crowley, it's fucking Lance Henriksen, who's like 80 years old. The guy's a stud. I'm like, okay, he's a legitimate heavy old guy that's not feeble. I loved him, and oh, he's fantastic. We've talked about him a little bit here on the Xtreme Movie Show, but the fact that we didn't get Crowley until the end, I don't have a problem with, because it's really about the execution of the storytelling here for what's going on. But honestly, there's a couple things here that I kind of didn't like, and it felt like, okay, I get what they're doing. So it's not like I was excited about it. I was more like relieved that it wasn't too horrible and all that. But overall, a pretty strong ending to wrap up a season without too many things laying. What's your initial take?
I love the twist ending, because it makes it better explaining that you can, like, and this is for anybody who's watching right now. If you haven't watched this episode, you might. This is a spoiler, probably a huge spoiler. Having Crowley not being the end game is the best thing you can do for a series like this, because I don't know what they would have done with him and all stuff. But you find out at the very end that Crowley wasn't the one in charge. He thought he was, but someone else is. So, and then it deepens the mystery. Now, whether this show gets another season or not, we don't know. I'd be happy to watch another season. There's very few shows that are decent that I can watch and actually, invest my time in. And
right.
This was one of them. I liked it all the way through. Obviously, yes, it's basically because, so we'll go in a little recap. This. Basically, they wanted to basically stop Crowley from winning, from getting access to everything. And I guess it does neatly tie up as far as with Haley and Maddie, FBI Maddie and stuff. Haley ends up coming clean to him and telling John that she basically went to Maddie, and then and because I'm worried about you. Now, the thing about Haley is that, like, we're led to believe that in this episode that she actually is, like, trustworthy, and like John's actually opening up to her. The best thing they can do for the next season is reveal that she's working for the guy that Crowley worked for.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want that, because I don't want, not that I want John to be like, oh, I don't want John to be happy. No, I want John to just, suffer a little bit more, because when he suffers, we kind of suffer a little bit too. But it keeps it interesting for me, because I don't want a happy ending. That's it, I do like the fact that basically their plan was basically to get Ed, basically expose it to that Ed's not dead, and this home guy at home. They want him to basically go on the record, go on to a live television interview. And of course, Crowley can't let this happen. So Crowley says, "Pizza boy," down to the studio.
Secret agent, triple agent pizza boy. Fuckhead. Yeah. God, he's got such a punchable face.
Oh, he does. That smile, it works. It's great. And Crowley's got access to everything now, so now he can just look up anybody by scanning their face, his recognition on their phone, and he can find out dirt on them, and then blackmails with them instantly. Yeah. Dang, like, that's scary. And the fact that people are like, oh, it's just fantasy. No, this is real. They have this technology if they really want to. I'm sure anybody can find any dirt on you, or just make up stuff. When you have, information in your hand, your control. Remember, information is power. Knowledge is power. But overall, like I said, I don't want to get too deep into this, but.
Well, let me address what you just brought up and kind of gloss over it, because while it's very pertinent to the storytelling, part of me, I think, hopefully represents everybody watching the show is, and says, well, I really don't give a shit. It's the background stuff. The whole idea from the background perspective, you take the characters out here, is that there's been a series of events to make them all converge to where a piece of legislation gets passed, so only a couple of companies can have access to all this data. So instead of having it's making it centrally located, and whenever you have something centrally located, there's few gatekeepers for it,
Yeah.
and those are ones that have immense power, which separate out basically the rich from the poor, the elites from the non-elites. And when you have something that's decentralized or whatever, and you have multiple different areas of it growing too, it's kind of like that's a more efficient system in a way, and more redundant. And so depending on how you look at system structure and architecture and all this boring put you to sleep kind of talk, it's important because the whole company was set up for this. It's about, like you said, information and how to deal with it. And we do find out that with this bill getting passed, and Art Analytics being one of the three companies that was able to kind of like be involved in it, that holy shit, they had to put a lot of things together on their own. So they're kind of doing, if you want to think of them as the good guys, the same thing Crowley was doing, if you call him the bad guy, and as Ed Brewer would say in chat, hey yo. But it's interesting, but it's important, I should say, but not interesting, because we're like, yeah, we see it and it's a background, okay, big deal. We do get a scene of a lot of people snapping pictures uh, with the podcast guy, and the Alex Jones ripoff, right? And Asian 007 kind of falling out of the van and getting back into little things like this. But I wasn't surprised by any of that. I have to admit this. At first, I thought, okay, Crowley's not going to be the thing. I thought I went on a wild goose hunt. So maybe he's like an AI or something like that, or a front of
Hmm.
something. And I kind of think that's the case still here. Maybe not AI, but when Lance Henriksen came up, I'm like, fuck, I want more Lance Henriksen. We talk about having older people, or like really ranges of people that
Yeah.
you don't see doing things. The man could still do it.
Casting
You
the
know what I'm
show
saying?
has been awesome. Peter Weller,
Yes.
Lance Henriksen. I
Because
was
Peter
like,
Weller, you automatically go think, okay, that's Crowley, right? But you're
yeah,
like, wrong. It's not.
no, no. He's being controlled by Lance Henriksen. Who's
Yeah,
controlling Lance Henriksen?
exactly. That's what I'm saying. But here's one thing I did like, and I'll give you one thing I did like, and one thing I didn't, and then I'll let you give your thoughts on that here too. The one thing I liked was that, and this is a bit of a spoiler, his wife, that something happens in this episode too, his ex-wife, I should say, really, with his kid and all that. Turns out it's not his real wife. It's a
Yes,
plant of somebody who worked before, and you're like, you motherfucker. I feel like a goat because I did not see that
yes,
one coming, and I
yes.
should have,
I
and I
love
feel
it.
stupid about it. And just when he went to, make things so perfectly great, we get the whole crap with Haley and them making like they're going to be getting all kissy sucky face and showing emotions for each other, and I still don't buy it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying the actress is bad, but I don't trust her. I think she's working everybody. There's more to it than that. And even though the plot's revealed about her working to deal with the FBI to get all that money back that she jacked, that's kind of like a red herring in a way.
hmm,
I just didn't like them having an emotional connection because it just didn't feel real. I liked her being pissy after the one night stand and all that. But if you didn't see that opening scene, you watch the rest of the show, you almost wouldn't think they had any sort of relationship other than somehow they were thrown together.
yeah.
To me, that was the weakest element.
Oh, the whole thing with his so basically Ben, he basically John doesn't trust Ben, his
Yeah.
dad. So he sends his dad, but he's like, you know what? I'll let Ben. I want you basically to go to my wife, and my son, and make sure they're safe. Get rid of them. Of course, while this is going on, John was meeting with Morgan Shaw, who is basically news media, basically kind of like how you say, like you'd be like a Fox News or whatever. Or you basically, he said someone who's actually still non-biased, someone you can fair and balanced. So that was kind of like their kind of hint like that. They didn't say Fox News, but like you're not corrupt. So I'm trusting with this information. We're gonna Edward Holmes isn't dead. I want you to spend a one-on-one exclusive interview. We're gonna reveal a whole conspiracy and all that stuff,
Hmm.
And while he's doing that, of course, she leaves the diner. He gets arrested by Maddie, pulled in the office, and then you see like so. So then while Bennett is with who he thinks is John's wife, tells her, he's like, call your son again because he hasn't. There's no response. No response. Meanwhile, we've seen someone who was kidnapped. This woman, we don't know who she is, but she's been held hostage, and then they need proof of life, and they take one of her fingers, and they're like, "What's going on here?" And like, because we know that, we know that Maddie is a lesbian. And she has a wife. I was like, is it like they getting blackmail on Maddie? Who is this person? Right. And then they basically pull on the Mission Possible 2 or 3, whatever that is. You know, basically it's like he's revealed. He's like, yeah, because they're taken to Crawley. Crawley has, has Ben and who he thinks is John's wife at gunpoint and handcuffs. He calls up John at the studio and he says like, "Hey, I have your wife." He's like, "You know what? You think you have it all?" He's like, he's like, but I've been through this before, and they tried to get him wife. So I ended up hiring someone to go, as a person to basically go and rescue my wife. The best person is, and she's in the room with you. And then you see this, and then so Cos, obviously you see Ben is like, what the hell is going on? He thought it was actually his wife. He's like, yeah, Dan, I really didn't trust you that much. So
yeah.
So yeah. It's a better reaction if you don't know. So and like I said, I had no problem with that. I think that was actually really cool that they did that, because I was thinking what's his ex-wife? Why is he's meeting with her and he sees a son? And it's like, but he doesn't is it his real son? Does he even have a son? Is this all it's
all front?
Yeah, this whole show is, I told you, I love it. And so that was cool. Like I said, seeing that, and of course at the end, that's because the end of the scene you see after his dad basically kills Crawley, he hears something. He finds the earpiece, Crawley's ear, puts it on in his ear, and he's like, "Who are you?" And that's how it kind of ends.
Yeah.
But basically, Weir had before he got arrested by Haley, he had sent an email to her, and basically because this is after he knew that basically did Haley had already told him? I think Haley had already told him that she basically made a deal with Maddie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he basically sends her a picture of Maddie, email a picture of Edward home, and then those two together, on the couch together.
Yeah.
So, like buddies, and he's alive. And so, and he basically says and now he basically says, "Maddie, call this number," and he talks to her, says, "You've seen the evidence. Now you're legally obligated to basically, we're on the same side now. You can't ignore this." He's like, "Damn it." So yeah. I love the fact that Haley basically helps him out when John makes his escape at the FBI place, building, because I love it. I love he basically steals the guy's badge. He's whispering, and he's like, "Hey," "you guys took the wrong address. That's where my family lives. I want to say it." He whispers, and he grabs the guy's badge, and you see the guy as he's walking to it. He's gonna leave. He leaves the room, and he's like, "Where'd my badge go?" And John's like, you see, go back forward. When John leaned in, he grabbed his badge, and now he's escaping. And it's just I love this kind of stuff.
I do wish they had a bit more of this kind of stuff, the underhand and spy stuff.
Yeah.
Remember we talked at length a few episodes ago when Haley was when he was training her to be super spy, and she's a natural, of course, at it, and she steals the numbers book. I kept going, damn it, that's got to mean something, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you remember certain things that stick out, and a lot of it has to do with the spy secret stuff that you're watching real time occur, rather than the background media stuff that is going to be a plot device or whatever. But again, because you're not emotionally invested in it, you don't give a rat's ass about it. And yes, we have an FBI agent there. Being a lesbian, does that really help the role here? I don't think so, one way or the other, so I don't know why it's there. I'll simply say, though, I liked her subdued approach, and I liked her kind of, I hate to say subplot, but her bitching with the other dude guy about territory and turf, I thought was kind of a nice little way to change things up a bit. But did it really amount to anything other than her being available at the end to, get this information and then move forward? Again, was that really needed? But that's what the show is. This is a show that has a lot of different things coming at you. The way they do it, there are definitely going to be some red herrings, some false things that you can go down a rabbit hole, pun intended, thinking, okay, how does this all fit together? It's it's a bit reductionist in that if you've watched a couple of the episodes, you start saying, okay, this is what they did in the first episode, but now it's really this. So now you can eliminate some things. So this episode does do a good job of basically releasing all that tension here at the end. It just leaves you one little string going into a potential season 2. And there's definitely things they can do with that, or I think in their own way, kind of branch off into, say, a different type of story without necessarily implementing this one or building on it. And that's one of the things about, like, say, Mission Impossible that you've referenced a few times. I think is interesting because,
Yeah,
for the most part, if you think of it as being episodic, where this movie's not necessarily related to the other one, and then they start to time together a little bit here, but ultimately,
yeah,
go find the friggin' rabbit's foot or whatever the hell the damn device is. It doesn't really matter because you're really interested in watching the team dynamic and figuring things out and all that. And here, I think they were so interested in trying to dazzle us with how brilliantly they can throw all these things together, and they did do a great job on it. Like I told you from early on, I wasn't the biggest fan of the way they do it, but it definitely makes sense, and at least they're consistent through it, with the exception of one or two little things, like the numerology book. For some reason, I cannot remember anything after that. Once she stole it, if it meant anything, there's so much. It's almost hard to filter out what you think's relevant or important, and that's where if you make a wrong choice, you're not going to know that until later on. That, oh, maybe I shouldn't have worried about why they did this or did that. It really comes at you fast and almost doesn't give you any time to kind of digest it because
yeah.
it's 100 miles an hour. So
Well,
yeah, again,
talk.
it's not a critique necessarily in a
Yeah,
negative sense. It's just it's unlike a lot of shows that we've either talked about offline that we thought was cool personally, or that we've attempted to cover here on the Extreme TV, or our subset of the Extreme movie show. So overall, I liked it a lot. I think it's worth watching. I mentioned to you that the one I'm a couple of episodes in is in Silo, and that is tremendous. And we'll be talking about that at some point. I just did the first 2 episodes. So I would encourage people, if they like a show like this, to maybe look at Silo on Apple TV with Rebecca Ferguson. It's a bit more of a slow burn thriller, whereas this Rabbit Hole's got a mix of things. So there's going to be something about Rabbit Hole you like. I mean, the bottom line is you may like some scenes more than others because of that, but that's not a bad thing.
yeah. Like I said, other things that basically happened in this show was that it was revealed that Ben, John's father, it was the one that gave the conspiracy guy basically the information, as far as that Ed's alive. Who's feeding
Yeah.
him the footage he has, where it looks like the camera looks like it's Ed. He said, according to my sources, Ed Holmes alive. Yeah, so I said, as far as everything going in here, I love the way this whole entire show is, because most things you like, you can watch a movie and you're like, oh, I know what the killer is,
Right.
and like you kind of know how it's going to end, and not specifically, but that so and so is involved and it's going to do this. This is like, I love this. This kept you guessing.
Yeah.
It's like a changing algorithm for YouTube. uh, it frustrates you, but like in a good way. For me, it did. Because I was like, okay, because I watched the first episode, I was like, okay, well, now I know it's this, and then you're like, wait, his dad's alive. The second one, what the hell? It's like, man, and just finding more and more, and like I said, I'm still not convinced that Haley. Their excuse was the fact that she's just a natural picking up, things, adapting and picking up skills. I was like, no, there's more. There's gonna be more to her, and I'm gonna be really sad if they do a season 2 and it's not revealed that she's actually a triple agent.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk to me about Triple Agent Pizza Guy. What do we want to make of him?
Oh, intern boy. Well, we know that he basically was ready to set to kill Ed. He had basically, Crowley had black. Okay, so let's back it up. He shows up in this episode. There's the FBI agents. Basically, they basically have come down and the studio said they have a written warrant so that they can't air the episode. It's obvious Crowley men, but it's weird. Says this is all diversion. We see pizza intern boy coming in. He's got a package. He knifes the guard, and this kind of sets him down. Scans himself in, walks in, and he sees come to the elevator, and then he gets to basically John says, "Hello, bitch." Basically kicks him or punches him, and then as the guy comes out, basically you see Haley sticks her arms out, and he basically gets clotheslined, and they basically arrest him. They said security guards hold him in hold cell, funny thing, guard, and then they look at this phone. This phone's on. It's got his bag. It was in the insurance boy his bag. That's how Crowley's able to scan the guy's face, finds out the guy. Oh, you like soliciting minors? Does your wife know about this?
Yeah.
So and blackmails him, gives him his gun back. And you see, so basically, eventually he makes his way up to the studio. You see him peeking from the crowd. He's getting ready to shoot, but just as he's getting ready to kill, and basically that's when over the feed, because he's talking to Crowley, you hear Crowley get shot multiple times by Ben. So this it causes feedback in his ear. He winces. Haley basically says, "The weird look, it's that doofus, it's that pizza boy guy." And but then he kind of winks. He's like, "You know what?" And he kind of walks away. He's like, no personal feelings, boss. And he walks away. So I'm like, maybe will we see him again? Maybe if he's working for Crowley. But
well, here's the thing with Pizza Boy. He to me he was a heat magnet. He was to me the ultimate heat magnet in this whole episode. It wasn't the mysterious New World Order faceless creatures or person named Crowley. It wasn't. It was this punk ass, because he was the physical embodiment of somebody that needs to get their ass kicked. We saw how he treated his emotionally challenged girlfriend, right?
Oh, yeah,
holy crap, this guy's a natural villain. I'm telling you, even though he looks like he weighs 120 pounds and he's about 5'4", you want to see that skateboard get shoved straight up his little punk ass. But I give the guy credit. Not only was he able to draw it, in all the heat, he was able to kind of convince me that he's probably a little bit smarter than he looks on, and I could see him as a character growing into the role where he becomes more professional at what he does rather than just being a punk.
Yeah, it said he's basically a merc for hire. Whenever I think of his character, for those who read comic books, I always think of like characters like Bullseye, who was a Daredevil villain. Basically, he just enjoyed killing. He didn't care who paid him. If he paid me more, sure, he'll do it. But sometimes he did stuff for free because he just liked what he did. Having a challenge. And so I see him maybe coming back next season, or maybe if they do a third season, see him coming back in the third season instead of the second one. And who knows? Maybe he will help out John for something, but in exchange for who knows what, a favor down the road.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things that happen. You're that stupid expression people like to act like it's a big deal, like nobody's ever heard it in hundreds of years. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Oh, fuck off with that. But it's politics, right?
But I do want him to get popped for what he did to the girl. I want the same thing that happened to him, where he gets choked and just freaks out.
You could introduce another character, and it could be a woman. It could be like her sister or a friend or whatever like that, and somehow it gets involved with John, and
he just gets shanked.
Exactly. And you get the buildup of watching him go, because again, the show's about. It's hard to do a show about big picture ideas because we don't care about them if we don't care about the characters. And again, I've said that it feels a little thin. I'm not buying the chemistry, with Haley and John. Charles Vance and it's just great, or Dance, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like I say, Asian 007 guy. You're right. It was a good group of watching these people that I don't know what they've done before for the most part. Not that they haven't been active on TV or other media, but I just was like, you know what? They didn't take away from us getting involved there, and it did feel like he had a little team going there, and I liked it. This is a very professionally done show. I give it a lot of credit. I liked it. I'm not going to say I loved it. I enjoyed it. I definitely would watch a season 2.
I was honestly hoping that that his girlfriend that he killed, he's using, would have turned out to be someone that another agent, and then kills him, or something like that. Would have been fun. You failed Crowley. You're
yeah, like another honeypot in more than one.
And then she kills him. It's like you failed. So now I'm taking over.
Yeah,
and it's like, why is? Because I've been like, why is John's intern boy they frame him for the murder?
Yeah. It's intense. It's if it's a binge watching thing, it's not a casual thing that you just put on and kind of have.
No.
You will get lost. You will not piece together one episode to another. It will not make sense.
I recommend that you don't binge watch this. That you do take your time watching each episode, looking for clues. Or if you just want to do the casual watch, like I said, you can do that too, and just watch. But maybe maybe you missed something. That's a great thing, but they're all available now. Now you can just go back and watch it again.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the beauties of shows that, like we've covered here previously on Extreme Movie Show. You know, we've talked about where we've done season 1 of some shows, even like Buffy was one of the first ones we did. Kolchak the Night Stalker's been proven to be pretty popular with people. It gets still a lot of consistent views. We like that. And we talked when we did all those episodes about how Kolchak was like a great foundation for other things to come. And
Yeah.
even we did Haven, I think the first season, because that was a little different. You know, Professor Pixel, who's seen all 1,224 or 5 episodes of the original Dark Shadows, who's done that? Frankly, I mean, I'm sure there are people who've done it, but you know, being 20 something, a young guy, to see all that with the family group and that is tremendous. That's why we did the Dark Shadows revival, because people of my generation, the 80s, that's what was their first introduction to it, and it was a big deal that they remade it. So otherwise, we only had some of those old spy movies from the 60s and 70s that were the hardcore,
Yeah.
you know, communist kind of World War II, post World War II stuff that was going on, not stuff like this. So this is, I think, a very good modern day feeling about what's going on. And this is a show that 20, 30 years from now, I'm not saying it's a great show, but it's a show that I think you could describe it then of going, yeah, I remember that came
I
out. It really captured the time, what was going on about there, some of the themes and all that really, really well. And I give it a +1 for that.
Yeah, I guess out of the 3 shows we watched The Old Man, we watched Tulsa King, and then watched this. I gotta say, my rankings would be The Old Man, then this, then Tulsa King.
Okay. For me, I think the Old Man has the best character, but I think it's the worst writing. Tulsa King's probably the funnest and rewarding, just because I'm a Stallone mark, and then this one's pretty good too. So it's tough. I'd have to probably put Tulsa King first, Rabbit Hole second, and then of course I'd have to put the other one third, just because of the writing. It didn't go where I wanted to go, even though I really like the character and the setup. I still think that was awesome.
So you're just flip flopping. My basically what I said for the 1 and 3. So
Yeah, I mean, and it is.
that's
And
okay though. Like
yeah,
I
it's
said,
how you pick it, you know.
like I said, these are the 3 shows that we've reviewed, and I love them. I want more of them, and I really don't need much of anything else.
Right. So coming
Like,
up next on the Extreme Movie Show, we've got Sunday. We've got our Mother's Day mommy movie specials where we talk
yeah,
about women in film. A month or so after that, we'll have the Father's Day Commando live stream watch along, whatever we want to call it, review. That'll be fun. We do that every year. And then I may be doing Silo before that. You may join in on that. We may be doing something else brand new on Tuesday as well. So we've got a lot of little things like that coming up here too. Been starting to get more comments, even on some of the older videos and all that. So I appreciate all the newer people that have taken a few moments to give their thoughts and opinions. That's what we're trying to generate here, is that community and that culture where people can get up and give their thoughts and we can talk about it, rather than saying, oh, this sucks, it's Red Pill, it's Mary Sue, and all that other crap, because we don't really do that here. That's not our jam, as it were, too. But, you know, we do like to get a stream. I will say that. Any other final thoughts of things you need to plug, RDB?
This Sunday will be the Queen Latifah Equalizer Appreciation Day.
Well, excuse you?
Isn't she a mother in that show? I don't know. Not much. I'm gonna go live on my channel. Check out the Geeky Puppet Show. Gonna go live in half an hour. Check that out. And then, yeah, we'll see you next time on Sunday on here.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a good night, and as always, stay extreme.
Good night, guys.